All right, welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Anchorage Homeless Prevention and Response System. I'd like to welcome and thank everyone for joining us. We will start with a land acknowledgement, which I've done from memory before, but man, I don't want to try to do it today. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement recognizing the Indigenous people of a place. It is a public gesture and appreciation for the past and present Indigenous stewardship of the lands that we now occupy. The Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness and the HPRS Advisory Council would like to acknowledge that we gather today on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina Athabascans. For thousands of years, the Dena'ina have been and continue to be the stewards of this land. It is with gratefulness and respect that we recognize the contributions, innovations, and contemporary perspectives of the Upper Cook Inlet Dena'ina. I'd like to invite anyone in the group that would like to share a mission moment. If you have anything to share, I do just want to recognize the tremendous effort around the support being provided to people experiencing homelessness over the past few months, as we have really struggled with some decisions on the capacity of shelters and how emergency shelter fits within our HPRS. So in absence of anyone having a formal mission moment, I would definitely share that, but invite anyone in the group if you would like to unmute and share a mission moment from yourself or from your organization. Sorry, we will move through the agenda. If we can show the agenda on the screen would be helpful. I will start with giving an update of the work of the Advisory Council through a chair report. We actually didn't get through committee reports, but I think I am pretty familiar with what the committees have been working on. I'll invite the committee chairs to chime in if I miss anything. I know that the Compliance Committee has been working on updates to the governance charter, specifically around the HUD regulations on monitoring recipients of COC funds. And so that's been a lot of their focus. The Data Committee has been having discussions about AKHMIS and the role of the AKHMIS lead agency. The Community Prioritizations Committee, the draft of Anchored Home is out. So the work around developing the goals around Anchored Home and then the community conversations around that live within that Community Prioritizations Committee. And Coordinated Entry has been looking at different assessment tools that can be used that will be a replacement to the VI-SPDAT, which was stopped its use of that tool. Our COC, it's been probably about a year and a half now. So looking at different tools, looking at different models for Coordinated Entry, and hope to bring that forward in the next month or so. If I missed anything, any of those chairs, please feel free to chime in. All right, moving to the ACH report. Meg.
Good afternoon, everyone. So starting with government updates, the local government has been quite busy of late. As you've probably seen, there's been the creation of two task force. I'm not sure what the plural is there. Sorry. One is around behavioral health, really quite broadly, although it sits in the sits in the Committee on Housing and Homelessness and Health Policy. And we can put in the chat the calls to action to join those task forces. The other one is around sanctioned camping and the exploration of sanctioned camps within the municipality. And I think sanctioned camp there means even like modular pallet shelters or other types of structures, not just simply a camping ground or something like that. So I would really encourage anyone who has interest in those areas to sign up to participate. Also, there was the recent couple of policy decisions. One, to keep the Sullivan Arena open until noon on May 1. It had been slated to close on a Sunday, which wasn't a great idea just because there's a lack of services and supports and buses. And so noon on Monday, and I believe the intention is that there will be breakfast and a sack lunch. Second, that the Sullivan Arena for a limited population will stay open on a referral basis only for individuals with who need help with their activities of daily living, activities of daily living or mobility issues. And so that is underway, and that's a 30-day extension, so through the end of May. Third, there was a press conference. I'm sure you may have all read about it in the paper or seen, to turn the Golden Lion on as housing. There was a couple of appropriations that went with that. One is to finish the repairs, and the second one is to provide some startup money to a provider that might run that location. And I believe that has to be turned on no later than June 30. So let's see, the Assembly also made an appropriation for summer outreach services, as well as continued funding first-time funding for the Third Avenue Resource Center, for a navigation center, funding for day engagement for transition-aged youth, as well as some investments in low barrier shelter and complex care. And then also into the Anchorage Affordable Housing and Land Trust, which supports the 3 hotel conversions, the guest house, the lake house, and the former Barrett Inn. So overall, the way I kind of view what happened is basically some investments in some safety net, ongoing safety net services, some investments in housing, some investments to deal with kind of where we're at right now, some like more emergency investments, and done in a way that didn't necessarily sacrifice upstream investments. There was also a large investment made in prevention. So I feel like overall it feels pretty balanced, and we'll see how all of those pieces go into motion and into operation. Similarly, I don't know if it's all on your radar, but the Forest Park trailer or mobile home park out in Chugiak had basically had a number of notice to quits posted. There's about 100 residents out there. It's really related to the water and sewer lines into those units not being any good anymore ever since the 2018 earthquake. There was action taken on Tuesday night to basically use a 90-day window to see if independent water and waste management can't be added per unit. So whether that's some kind of, refillable self-contained water system, and then a composting or incinerating toilet through a mobile home repair program. Because really, if those units can be disconnected from the ground-based system, they will then meet municipal code, and they can go ahead and continue to be homes. And these are homes that people own. And if that can't happen, then the municipality intends to post a notice to vacate, giving 60 days notice, and then those folks will have to leave. And that would add significant inflow. And at the community meeting a week ago today out in Chugiak, we heard from those homeowners, and they very much want to stay in their community. And what they're finding is that the current remedy, which is an optional relocation program using community development block grant disaster relief funds through NeighborWorks, doesn't really fit most of their situations, either because of income, because of household structure, or because once the rental assistance that could come from that program ends, the cost of a market rate unit right now is so much higher than their costs for their current living situations. So I'm really excited to see what the municipality can do with that community to try to preserve those homes. We need to preserve every home we can, but ensure that it's safe and habitable. On operational updates, the coalition is really focused on summer outreach and really having conversations about how we can ensure that the homelessness prevention and response system is very person-centered, meeting folks where they're at literally and situationally. How can we bring services to people? How can we make sure programs are easily accessible to people, particularly those experiencing unsheltered homelessness? So, for example, if you have a housing program that requires a 14-page application and you need that in order to, meet and check off all your boxes for your program, is there any way we can create some kind of a screening tool so that we're making sure that when we're out in the field or people are out in the field, they can, get some basic information that then says, okay, now we need to maybe arrange transportation for that person to go to where that program is and finish completing that process. So really just thinking at it from that lens of what is accessible and doable with lots of people who are in an unsheltered status and where we might be conducting a lot of this business outside. There was a very generous offer, though, for those where we do need to make arrangements for the more intensive paperwork from Third Avenue Resource Center to be able to use that facility, which is wonderful. So really just trying to think about the system from that lens for this summer. And we are very hopeful that as we work through the summer that in June, we start to see more housing units come online, whether that's the Golden Lion, filling the Lake House, and then the Barrett. That would be a substantial number of units and be a really big help. I think that's all I have for right now. I'm happy to take any questions.
If anyone has any questions for Meg, they can just unmute and ask or you can put it in the chat. I can read it out loud. Either one. I did put a link in the chat to the press release about those 2 task forces. So if anyone wants more information about the work of those task forces, or if you want to participate, there's some links in that press release to get more information. All right, well, thank you, Meg. We will move to the primary agenda item that we have today, which we have a little bit of extra time for now, which is hoping to have a robust conversation about shelter transition and the HPRS support of that, the systems and facilities and services that are already in place and how they are best poised to interact with people who are experiencing homelessness that will likely find themselves in an unsheltered situation when the Sullivan Arena closes, and some of that conversation around navigation and how we can best help support our fellow providers and people experiencing homelessness. So opening up this conversation, if anyone wants to, you can unmute and talk. If we start to see a lot of interruptions, I'll ask that we start using the hands so that we can keep a little bit more orderly, but I think that we could navigate a conversation. I will start by expanding a little bit on what Meg was sharing there around what resources have been put into some of this transition. I know she mentioned that The last day for regular services at the Sullivan Arena is Monday. There is funding and a assembly action to keep it open for another 30 days for people who are experiencing some physical mobility issues and other kind of more special needs. But otherwise, what my understanding is, the intent is to completely close the Sullivan Arena after that. So there has been some funding put out for those expanded outreach resources. I know there is an intent to have a food component with that. We've had a lot of discussions in the community about what that means in terms of reaching people where they are. Meg did comment on the importance of those camp reports through the municipality website. So typically those camp reports would come in, and then the Healthy Spaces team would schedule abatements and do those postings. But since there is not adequate shelter space currently, those camp maps are also what we use for outreach. The HPRS system uses that to identify where there are people who need those resources and need that navigation service. So if you or your teams are encountering people who are unsheltered, it is important to go in and put that report in through the municipality website. Well, this will be a quiet discussion. We set aside this time after the last all COC meeting when people did identify that this was valuable to them to be able to get that up-to-date information and talk to our peers and talk to other providers about what they are planning on doing and how they are planning on being part of either the closing of the shelter or the response throughout the summer. I will share it with my Rural Cap hat on. Rural Cap has had an outreach team for quite a few years now and participates in the resource pop-ups and as well as doing street outreach. We do that street outreach in teams, whether it is our two staff members as a team together, or occasionally they will go out as a team member of a team with a Covenant House outreach person or a Beans outreach person. In the past, we've had participation by Choices, by Alaska Behavioral Health. So really coming together with other providers to be able to get out there and do that. And then, of course, our Transitional Housing for Families, Safe Harbor, taking a role and participating as families are experiencing shelter needs throughout the summer, recognizing that we really only have two kind of traditional family shelters here in Anchorage. We have the Clare House and we have McKinnell. But then we also have the Awake shelter for people who are fleeing or experiencing domestic violence. But all of those shelters are full with wait lists. So recognizing that the better we are at transitioning people from shelter to transitional housing to permanent housing, frees up that resource for someone who's unsheltered. So Rural Cap is working really closely with that team along with CSS and Salvation Army and Awake to be able to help identify where that system can best be communicating and be part of that.
I can talk a little bit about what CSS's plans are, and Jessica, you just mentioned that our shelters are full. You know, we do have a pretty significant wait list at Complex Care. And as far as Brother Francis Shelter is concerned, you know, there's just more turnover in general at Brother Francis Shelter. So we want to make sure that we're just staying in touch with people to make sure that those beds remain full. think one of the big things for us right now is really just the Third Avenue Resource Center. So we do have a shuttle bus that's been going back and forth between the Sullivan Arena about 4 times a day to make sure that people can be brought down and access services. And our team is working to just kind of identify how that's going to continue throughout the summer to make sure that we are going to different camps. And again, just want to make sure that we're providing whatever access we can to the services that are happening there. And then of course, we've got all of our different community-based case management teams who have been at the Sullivan, will continue to work there throughout the month. And then, beyond that, they will definitely just be, working in the community at large. Questions about what Catholic Civil Services is doing, please let me know. I'm happy to elaborate or talk more about that.
Thanks, Robin. I will say that my outreach staff have definitely appreciated the work of Ariel and her team down at the NAV Center, and being able to not just access the space, but being able to have that coordination. We have left many messages at the front desk down there.
Thanks.
Meg.
Thanks. I think this is a good time to do a reminder that coordinated entry assessments need to be updated every 90 days so people don't pop off the prioritization. So we are handing out those coordinated entry cards. People can update coordinated entry at any access point. The cards have the phone number for the coalition at the pop-ups. Just reminding folks that, please make sure your coordinated entry stays up to date so that when we do have housing opportunities, you're in the mix. So if you need any coordinated entry cards, let us know. We will get more if you need our pop-up schedule, because folks need to be doing those updates. And I've programmed the number into many a phone as well. So just really want to stress that. Also, if we don't have an HMIS or a program contact in 90 days, folks go inactive. And so really making sure we log folks, in our contacts into HMIS, and then if we can do the CE updates. Thanks.
Thanks, Meg. Allison?
So so Covenant House, we are closing the emergency cold weather, the 25+ beds, and shelter is running full, but we're working to try to step that down. We have some critical vacancies in key positions like navigators that would be helping with our transitional age youth and the coming out of Sullivan Arena, but we are doing the best we can, and our outreach team is a part of the coordinated outreach services and participating in all those activities. And we are doing day services, so for up to 50. So we're really trying to shift from the overnight to day services where we have the ability to kind of work with them on what is their success plans. Thanks.
Thanks, Allison. Is there a space? I've been meaning to ask you this question, and now this just came up and I remembered it. Is there a space or number where if we are encountering someone who is eligible for Covenant House services and interested in them, is there a really quick way to make that referral? Do we just send them down to the physical space? Should they call that number that's on the website?
Yeah, the easiest is the 272-1255, and I can put it in the chat, but you can always send them down, right? But sometimes calling, you can find out if there are any issues of which that they might not be the safest at Covenant House. So I always kind of recommend the call because also we have some resources available for transportation. So if you call and they need transportation, then we can help get them to our space if we're the most appropriate.
Perfect. And your age group is still up to 24?
Yes, 13 to 24.
13 to 24. Thank you.
And we do have, Jessica, we do have a mom and baby program. It's like Clare House and some of the other programs, it's full, but we definitely have a mom and baby. And then our transitional living program also has some vacancies, but is operating pretty much at capacity.
Okay, very good to know. I will add that to our family resource bucket. So the mom would need to be in your age group.
Yeah, we're one of the funders, but we're working to educate up to age 24. Right now, it's been 21 and under. So
Okay.
we're kind of in that space where we're trying to be the best advocate.
And can they be pregnant or do they have to
Yeah,
have the child?
pregnant and or parenting.
Perfect. Thank you. Susie.
So I just wanted to let you know that as far as Awake, we actually have, when it comes to the shelter, we do have space at this point in time. However, it is about the screening, and we are focused tremendously on folks with imminent safety issues. We are expecting an influx of requests and screenings in the coming days because of what's happening with the Sullivan closing. And in order to do the screening, I really, like Allison, would recommend that people use our crisis line, and I'll pop it in the chat. That is the most effective way to get a screening accomplished. And if not, we are available 24/7. The staff should be able to help somebody come in if they come to the front door in order to be screened. And as far as transitional housing, Awake does have Harmony House, which is a housing program for women without dependent children. And there is space available there. It does not require a referral form or anything. And I will also pop in Tanya's phone number and email so that you can contact her if you have somebody you'd like to refer. And they do have to have a history of domestic violence, stalking, or sexual assault.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you want to toss the number in the chat, what we can do is put together as part of an email correspondence, or maybe even coordinating with ACH to have like a special blurb in the weekly digest that highlights some of these methods of screening and entry, because I do think that there's going to be a lot of those questions coming up over the next few months as we start to see some families, some young people, and then of course the single adults. So having all of that information together, I think would be really helpful. And then I'm not sure if anyone from United Way is on, but definitely throwing out there that my go-to tends to be tell people to call 211, but giving people the direct resources, especially for our staff, I think is going to be really important. I do know from the family shelter standpoint, I will share this, that with the closure of the emergency cold weather shelter for families, and knowing that last night, I believe we had 9 families accessing ECWS. We saw a bit of an uptick the past 4 or 5 days. We have been working with United Way to have a message on 211 because families did get used to calling 211 to get that referral and that message of where to go for shelter throughout the winter. So we are having a message that will direct people essentially to a central line, a central intake to be able, no, intake is not the word, a central line, a central navigation to be able to get that family's information and help direct them to the best resource, even knowing that it is likely being a referral to get on a wait list. But being able to have that central information very quickly. And then Meg put in the chat, I think also always important to remember also that we do have the capacity map on the ACH website that Sasha sends out an email twice a week to have that updated information on there, and has information there about the capacity and if there is any open capacity at it. So being able to put that on that map, I think would be really nice.
We can also add, if there's a screening, like Susie was mentioning, we can put it right under the facility name. I think that would probably be helpful if you all want to respond to that capacity map, and then she can just add that there. So if someone's looking to see if there's capacity, but then, oh yeah, there's this screening. So then they can just pass that accurate information on.
She does have that information for us, and she does have the Harmony House updated as well. That we are taking screenings at this point in time at the Awake Shelter.
Okay, I'm gonna have her add the phone numbers if that's okay with you. So that way, if
Oh,
someone's pulling
She
it up,
doesn't have- Yeah, sorry, but I didn't realize the phone number wasn't there.
I think it's just the facility. So we'll start rounding it out a little bit more. Okay.
Okay.
We do have some more time for this discussion, so if we wanted to go beyond just providers giving updates about what their plans and their interactions were and talk more about provider concerns or provider ideas. This is really an open forum, open discussion for people attending this meeting to be able to share information or ask questions, present ideas.
I just shared, Jessica, like we shared on our call on Wednesday, that and just this acknowledgement that this is a tough transition time for everyone right now. And actually, Katie raised it for us a couple of weeks ago, and just want to acknowledge. I know it's hard work, and it's hard when we go through these big transitions, and that there needs to be space made for that and the acknowledgement for that, and that. We need to be sure that we're supporting each other, not only in the work, but that also making sure we're keeping the lines of communication open, and that we're all taking care of ourselves, and realizing that soon summer will be here too, and people will be summering. And so people who hopefully can find time to step away and take care of themselves. Cause I think we're just at the start of summer, right? Or well, kind of the start of summer. There's still snow on the ground, but of this, 6-month period. And then also, Dave Rittenberg from CSS mentioned the other day, when can we start talking about winter? And I put him off till mid-May. I hope that's not too late with you all, but we'll start trying to convene some conversations to start talking about winter in about mid-May, if that all works for you. And we would love to have all of your involvement. I don't think we're going to do anything as formal as like a task force. I think we've kind of got a great structure, and we know who wants to be involved. And we'll continue to make those invitations wide, and cast a wide net, and then try to create some regular cadence to that work.
Korea will have something to say about you not acknowledging that winter is coming.
I acknowledge it's coming. I'm just not devoting time to it till mid-May, because we have to get through the next couple of weeks.
That is good information to share, because I know that as we are all really struggling a bit with what's happening right now, trying to do everything we can to make sure that we're not in this space over and over again. We don't want to continue to have this Groundhog Day situation of we have shelter, we don't, we have shelter, we don't. It's not good for us as providers. It's not good for the people experiencing homelessness who are having to go through that roller coaster as well. So making sure that we are always the healthiest and the best that we can be, so that we can be there for the people we care about. And in a lot of cases, the people we care about are really struggling, and being able to make sure that we are always in a situation to be able to help. It brings up a conversation I had with Bob Dole about a year ago. Actually, it was literally about a year ago, because it was in the parking lot of the Sullivan Arena, where we were talking about employee assistance programs and how there are organizations that are very small and don't necessarily have a formal employee assistance program, and how we as a community could potentially address that. But I would encourage everyone, if your organization has an employee assistance program or you have access to those types of services, they can be a really great resource. I have definitely accessed Rural Cap's employee assistance program, both personally and also the first time I had a client pass away in one of our programs, and that was really hard for me to get through this this thought. So I would encourage people, if you are struggling or if you really need that person to talk to you and you have access to that, they can be really good resources. A lot of people think they're only for crisis moments, but I think sometimes they're there to help avert the crisis moment as well. Well, we still have about 10 minutes left allocated for this conversation. If anyone has anything they want to share about shelter, about the Sullivan Arena specifically, I share Meg's excitement that we have a lot of housing options coming online soon. So I'm hoping that that helps mitigate some of these impacts as well. But recognizing that always we will have a need for the low barrier shelter. And I think that having this conversation about how we as a community address when we don't have it will really help to inform better decisions about the shelter itself and how it needs to function within our HPRS. All right, well, we can move along with the agenda. The rest of the agenda is space for other public comment and any other questions or things people want to share is next. So if you have anything, please feel free to unmute, and you can go ahead and just speak. If you aren't comfortable with that and you'd like to put something in the chat, I can read that out loud as well. That is a wonderful clock. That's pretty cool. I don't know how I've never actually noticed it before. All right, well, moving on to good news and celebrations. Anyone have anything? At least I think I have that right. What goes on the agenda? Anyone have anything that they'd like to share about their program? Anything great that's happening? Anything upcoming that is a celebration you'd want to share with the group? I don't know if it's necessarily good news or a celebration, but I believe that most of the providers and organizations have probably seen that Nancy Burke has taken a role with an organization down in Colorado. So she will be leaving the state next month. And she has played a large role in housing and homeless services here in Anchorage, both working in local government when she had her role at the municipality, as well as with the providers, and her most recent role with United Way. So I know I'm really going to miss her, but I think that she is really excited about this new organization and this new opportunity. So I wish her the best. And if you happen to see her in the next, I think about 10 days before she leaves, 10, maybe 2 weeks, you can share that. All right, moving to upcoming advocacy opportunities and calendaring. This one I may not know off the top of my head, but I will share that There are 2 regular assembly meetings per month. I'm going to say the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday, and let's see how close I am. Yes, May 9th and May 23rd for regular assembly meetings, and those are held at the assembly chambers down at the Lusac Library. Like I said, Tuesdays between 5 and 11. They also stream on YouTube if you like to watch things that way. The Housing, Homelessness, and Neighborhood Development, or HAND Commission, meets on the first Wednesday of every month. So Wednesday, May 3rd. Those meetings are held in person down in the Health Department Conference Room at the L Street address, or also on Teams. You can participate either way. The Advisory Council Executive Committee meeting is held May 11th, and then our next monthly meeting will be on May 25th, the 4th Thursday of May, and you can participate just like this. If you would like to forward that information to other members of your team or other members of the community that would like to participate, absolutely feel free to forward that information on. And if you have any ideas for presentations, or if you would like to have space at the meeting to make a presentation, you can email info@hprsadvisorycouncil.org and let us know. And we can have that discussion and get you scheduled. Sometimes our schedules book out, so it might not be the next meeting, but we'll get you on there. All right, well, we will get about 15 minutes back of your day. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for the discussion, and invite you to always feel free to reach out and share. You can always reach the Advisory Council through that info email. It gets it comes into our lovely facilitators, Mitch and Emily, but they get that information out to us, and that's always a point of contact for us. Otherwise, everyone have a great day. Happy spring. Actually, the last few days have really felt like spring, as long as I don't look at the snow in the yard. But have a great day, everyone.